Our guest today turned emotional eating, divorce, and the chaos of parenting three kids into a hilarious, gut-punching story of healing and self-acceptance. A clinical counselor who's lived the very lessons that she teaches, she's dismantled the diet culture on her journey to losing 103 pounds. Her memoir, Always Hungry, is raw, funny, and deeply human journey through resilience, shame, and reclaiming self-worth. Please welcome the unfiltered, unstoppable force, Jane McGuinness.
Thank you, AJ, for that beautiful introduction. And
My pleasure.
it's a pleasure to be here. I really appreciate you having me on to talk about this. Thank you.
Absolutely. I wanted to kickstart today's session, our today's podcast, with this question that I found online. And I just wanted your take on it. I know it's always hard when people just post questions, but
Oh,
what would you think about this? So it's a Reddit post titled My husband resents me for losing weight. So here's what it says. My husband and I got into an argument this morning about something completely unrelated to my weight loss. It was about our bank account. Then all of a sudden he threw out, with the weight loss, I've been feeling so inferior and insignificant. Then he immediately saw the hurt on my face and said he didn't mean it. But it's always been this way. He has always encouraged me to lose weight. For years, I'd lose 20 pounds max and then I'd fall off and gain it all back. After I hit 235 pounds, after having our daughter, I decided to really focus on my health to be the best version of myself for her. I'm down to 188 pounds now and it's tearing him apart. He doesn't say anything. Never told me he's proud of me, that he's noticed my hard work, nothing. Unless I say something. He himself is overweight and chooses not to do anything about it. I just don't know what to do. I feel so defeated and it's making me feel ashamed that I've lost weight. But I also feel that it's unfair that I've made such a big accomplishment and I feel like I'm being punished for it. There was a further update that she added. Thank you for all your input and messages. I'm always open to telling him my feelings, and we have discussions about how we feel weekly as a part of us trying to work on our marriage and communication. I was upset because this had nothing to do with the current heated discussion we were having, so it threw me into a loop. It also made me realize how negative he seems to feel about my weight loss, and I just don't know what to do. But I'm going to talk to him about it tonight after work and let him open up to me about how he feels. Wish me luck. What do you think? What do you feel?
wow. Oof. Oh, I mean, there's a lot there. I mean, my first thought is that there's a couple that really needs therapy.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Because without knowing any more about the husband's lived experience and where he's at, yeah, it sounds like there's a lot going on and a
yeah,
lot coming up for him. And he's triggered by
yeah,
his weight loss and what should be a happy time and an opportunity for him to be supportive and encouraging. He's not able to, which speaks to issues he has about perhaps his
right.
own, yeah, his own a sense of self-worth and maybe some insecurities there. But yeah, no question. I mean, and this
Yeah,
is why I advocate therapy for everyone. I really
yeah,
believe, even if you're well, it's like taking your car for a service, going and getting a checkup.
yeah,
We can be doing well, but we can also then be flourishing and thriving and
yeah,
happier. So yeah,
yeah,
I don't I'm yet to meet a person that would not benefit from therapy, myself included. We're all on this journey.
yeah. We
Yeah.
we are all on this journey all the time. It's almost I tell my wife that I see life as a journey of learning continuously. You unlearn and learn. You unlearn and learn. So
So
I can, yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
The way when I read this post, the way I feel about it is a lot of times there are these hidden feelings, and especially it could come from you not being able to do the weight loss yourself. The man in this perspective,
Yeah.
having probably he struggled and he's seeing her do so well, and it's bringing in this level of jealousy, insignificance because he feels probably like a failure because now she's done it. So
Yeah,
it's always complicated in such situations and
definitely.
tricky. Like it's tricky because what do you
Yeah.
say to someone? What do you say? Because they're going through it.
Yeah, it's
Right.
so true. And without knowing any more about the relationship, it
Right.
may also be triggering some jealousy, in the husband if his wife is now gaining male attention, and he's noticing that out in
Right.
the community. There's so much that might be at play there. Yeah, they would need to unpack with a therapist, absolutely. And that's just one hypothetical, but it's certainly possible that, yeah, for some people there's a safety in knowing, well, your partner is, probably not going to, may not be, or you're feeling they're not as noticed, by other men.
When I read your book, and if anyone's not read it, make sure to check out her Audible version, her book version. Her memoir is amazing.
Thank you.
So
Thanks, AJ. That means a lot.
I know that you went through certain situations like this because you write about it in the book. The people who
Yeah.
thought, you needed to lose weight, all of a sudden you're like, you've lost too much. Are you okay? And they start projecting different things onto you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
How do you deal with that today?
Oh, it's tough because you're right. It's always about their fears and their journey and insecurities. Absolutely. I have to credit Tara Brach's work with radical, her book Radical Acceptance. I found that infinitely useful, and I mean I practice that every day in all aspects of my life. So at this point, I can accept that that's someone else's opinions, and if it's too far, I'll politely ask them and let them know that comment's not helpful, and say it in a gentle way. But then I just have to accept, particularly when it comes to older family members and people who often say things that are well intentioned but not helpful. I just have to radically accept that that's who they are, and I can love them, and I'll leave their opinions over there and distance myself from them because, yeah, people will always invariably comment. And it's curious the way we all believe we have a right to comment on another person's
Yeah,
body, because it's
yeah.
actually no one's business if you're in a
It,
larger or
yeah,
smaller body. It's really not. And
yeah.
I understand if someone's concerned about an eating disorder and they're genuinely, for example, worried their child or somebody may have anorexia and there needs to be an intervention. That's a different thing.
Yeah,
But I mean, I've been at a healthy, stable weight for a long time now. I mean, I'm not fading away. I'm just at a comfortable set point. But yeah, some people will still absolutely, they'll start to throw in the comments like, "Oh, you're going to look gaunt. You've lost too much. You need to eat." And I eat quite happily every day. I love food. That's never going to be a problem. But yeah, it goes from one extreme to the other. I was told for years to stop eating. Now people try and force food into me when I'm very, very well. So it's, not everyone is just, yeah, it's often
yeah,
about their own experience.
yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot to take.
How do you build that wall? What does acceptance look like in such a situation where it's someone comes and says something to you? Is there something you go through in your mind? Is there a routine that helps you say, okay, this is not mine. I can push it away.
Well, it's certainly taken years of work, and obviously the training and the study, the postgraduate study in psychology was very, very helpful in recognizing this is coming from something within them and their own insecurities. And then, yeah, absolutely takes practice. I mean, I meditate every day, and I mean, Tara Brach's work in radical acceptance, all stems from, its roots are in Buddhist, those beliefs of accepting and just allowing, experiences for what they are without engaging. So I can distance myself from that now, but that's taken years of practice to get to that point where I can just acknowledge that's who they are, and really, well, everybody just needs love and kindness. So I don't allow that to I don't take that on. But I mean, it's been a journey. Of course, years ago when I had anxiety, as I wrote in the book, I mean, I was
Yeah.
offended by everything. I mean, I was deeply hurt, when sometimes it was well intentioned. My mother-in-law at the time would say something, and she's a kind woman, but she would say things without thinking, and it was very hurtful and not
Yeah.
realize. Yeah, and now I
Yeah.
recognize those are her issues, not mine. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, years ago I would spiral and feel terribly anxious and hurt. But I think that, yeah, it's a journey getting to that point of self-compassion and love and kindness for ourselves, and then we can give it to everyone else. So I had to give it to myself first and recognize, yeah, we're all absolutely equal and inherently worthy of love and kindness, because yeah, we're all here in this, on this journey together. Yeah.
And, I just wanted to pick your brain a little deeper. So let's say someone's listening to you right now and they're feeling shitty about all these judgments that people have around. What is one tool or ritual you would recommend to them that they can start right now? They don't have
Yeah.
background in mental health education. They don't know anything. What can they do right now?
Sure. Though that's a great question. And I recommend, I use this myself with my children and clients. I recommend we think about the circle of control. Some people may have seen this, diagram on the internet. Essentially, inside the circle is everything in our own lives that we can control. And
Right.
outside of that circle is everything else, the weather, what people say about us, what they think, what they do. We can't control anyone else's actions or behaviors or thoughts. And so when I learned that and realized, there's precious little we can control, but what we do get to control is our thoughts, our actions, our behaviors. That was a game-changing moment, because when we realize that we can't control what another person says that may be hurtful, but we get to control our response.
Got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that I would recommend that, because that's when we can truly accept that and say, okay, I accept that. Now I get to control. How do I respond to that comment? What is my next step? My behavior, my actions. There's just huge power in that. Yeah.
I also wanted to ask you something that I have a suspicion of that has happened in today's culture. There's one aspect of not judging someone's body and truly letting them choose their own path, respecting their body, and accepting everyone as they are. That's our human moral responsibility.
Yeah.
On the other end, I suspect that somewhere for some people this has become permission to not have a healthy body. And where it goes to the point of I can disregard my health, no one has a right to say anything.
Yeah.
How do you see that today, and what do you tell people when it's such a complicated nuance?
Yeah. No, I agree. And I do believe we all have the power of choice. We're all free to choose. And I respect, so if somebody is comfortable and truly happy in a larger body and confident and they're comfortable with that, then I fully respect their choice. That's their decision to make, their autonomous decision. I just know for myself that when I was in a much larger body, I lacked energy. I didn't feel good about myself. I was lacking confidence. I didn't have the energy to ski with my kids and to do all of those things outdoors that I wanted to do with them and go hiking. So I made the changes for myself for very, very important personal reasons. I wanted to live a full and active life with them, and a long life, hopefully.
Yeah.
So I respect that people do have the freedom to make that autonomous decision, and I don't judge. I don't believe any of us have the right to judge another. So I won't judge another person for their decision. But I do think in society, the pendulum swings from one to the other, to the extreme orthorexia and, the obsession with health. And then it swings back the other way, where there's just no personal responsibility. And
Right.
myself, my Substack is called All Things Moderation, because I found I've just
Yeah.
settled in the middle, where
Yeah.
it's the moderate path. And for myself, that's worked. So I'll enjoy ice cream, but I'll enjoy it occasionally. It's still a treat. I don't have it all the time every day, because I don't need that kind of energy intake every day. It wouldn't be part of what for me is balance and wellness. So I think there's a middle ground. I think, sometimes we just swing too far one way or the other. And I know for myself, I wake up, I've been at a stable weight now for a decade, and I've done that through just the path of moderation, going for a walk, enjoying filling up my plate with more vegetables. And yeah, if I really feel like baking cookies, I will. I'll enjoy one though, in moderation, or maybe two, but, I'm not going to eat half of them. Like often when we're binge dieting, and then we'll spend a week fasting and starving ourselves, and then we binge on everything, we do. So often we restrict, and then, with the latest ridiculous diet, and then a month later we regain it all back plus extra. Yeah. So
Right.
I think that path of moderation for myself, I think it's a message that doesn't sell. That's why, the diet the diet industry doesn't make money telling people, to go for a walk and, eat more
Right.
vegetables very often, because everybody wants to like drop it all, 10 pounds in 10 days, all of these ridiculous things that are not sustainable or healthy. So I think, yeah, I think there's just so much nonsense out there.
Yeah.
I think the diet noise, it's just deafening. And I
Yeah.
think, and I maintain that common sense is just not that common. We really do need to get
Yeah.
common sense.
I mean, I have to say this, when I was reading your book, it's almost like you wrote your thoughts. You wrote, even if it
Yeah.
sounded ridiculous, you actually wrote down what your thoughts were. And that's what makes it such a good read. It's such a
Aw.
good read. Um, so something that you were speaking about, which is moderation. I've kind of battled with this idea, and I'll explain why to you.
Yeah.
So I was listening to a podcast with, I think it was Daniel Lehman who was speaking on the podcast, and he said moderation is dangerous, and this is what he said. And I don't even remember if the context. So I'll completely accept
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
heard part of it, right? That's where the nuance comes in. So he said that if you're, for example, in a bad relationship, you're not going to say, I'm going to go spend time for some time, and the rest of the time I'm going to be in a healthy relationship. You either completely cut it off or you're in there. It's not partially there. So how do you see moderation? Because I'm really looking to learn from someone who does it on a daily basis. What
Yeah.
does moderation seem like to you? Because to me, when I put myself in those shoes, I think, okay, I can just let myself have this cookie. It's okay. But is there something different you think about when it's moderation? What do you feel and think about it?
Yeah, no, that's a good point, because you're right. When it comes to something like an unhealthy relationship, you really can't have half of an unhealthy relationship. You're either in
Yeah.
or out. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But I think with dieting, I think one of the biggest problems with anybody who goes on a diet, per se, where it's okay, we're going to absolutely omit all sugar or carbs, or like, so no bread or no milk or whatever it is, no fun. There's always no something. I think the problem is when we forbid ourselves that, inevitably that's the one thing we crave. I know I've done it in the past. I did the no carbs. So then what did I crave? Sourdough bread, or then, whatever it was, whatever we forbid, we just want it that much more. And so that's where I landed on moderation, but I landed on it with a recognition that my body needs daily movement, exercise, even if it's, some yoga, like, or if I'm tired that day, I respect and listen to my body, but I'll do something to reconnect somatically. I love to hike or mountain bike, so I like to do a hard workout, and it feels great, and sweat, and then, yeah, so for moderation for me might be, okay, like, yeah, I know that I've got a couple of events coming up, and there's going to be some wine and some, there's going to be delicious food, and I'm going to go and enjoy it, but then I'm going to balance that with exercise and work out, because I know my body, if I'm taking in a certain amount of energy, I mean, there is like, we can't deny the science of it. If we take in a ton of energy and don't burn it up, we're going to store it. Like, I know my body will store that energy. If I eat a ton for a week, of course, I mean, I could gain a few pounds,
Right.
quickly. So it's moderation for me is just balancing, okay, moving my body, taking the walks, and then, yeah, and enjoying food, but in recognizing that, I think way back when, for our grandparents and their grandparents, like, treats were actually treats. Ice cream was birthday cake you had on a birthday for a reason.
Yeah.
So there's a reason we're not meant to go out and have a big piece of cake every day, all day, And so I won't. I'll enjoy it sometimes if I'm at an event or there's a birthday, but yeah, I won't say, look, I'm never having it again, because otherwise I can't stay at a healthy weight. What I've learned over time, and I think it's different for everybody, we learn, like, if I check in and weigh myself once a month, and or I, put on the same pair of jeans, I know if they don't fit in a few months or they're loose, I've either gained or lost. So that's like a really sort of common sense way of just figuring out, okay, where's my body at and what am I comfortable with? And that set point's different for everybody. But I
Yeah.
think it's about being comfortable and just knowing we can enjoy the food, but it does need to be balanced. And yeah, which is
Right.
why most of the time I will make sure I'm cooking from scratch at home or when I'm eating out. You know, it's whole foods. It's filling up on lots of veggies, lots of fiber, you know. Experiment with vegetables. They're delicious, you know, and just trying new recipes and just making sure I have enough healthy protein so I'm not craving simple carbs and sugar. So there's absolutely that aspect of it, which is, we can't deny, is really, really important. Figuring out what works for you individually, because everybody's different. I know what works for me. And I know that, yeah, if I'm going to eat a ton of sugar the next day, I'm not going to feel well. You know, my body's just, it's just going to feel kind of yuck. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I think our body tells us, you know, we just, a lot of us just don't listen. I think we just
Yeah.
completely ignore signals of hunger and fullness. And because we're emotionally eating so often, you know, it's
Right.
got to do with our stomach and our physical needs. It's
Yeah.
all emotion.
In fact, I feel like a lot of times we eat so that we don't miss out on it. We don't want to lose the opportunity to have certain things. Like that's
Yes.
one aspect that comes in.
Yeah, that's
But
such a good point. Yeah.
yeah, something I picked out. I think this is important for people listening. The key difference that you brought up is forbidding versus saying no. You can be in a season temporarily not taking in something, but
Mhm.
if you make it permanent, that's where the damage is. That's where
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I'm never going to have this opportunity again. And so
Yeah.
that's when it feels like, okay, I really must dive into whatever opportunity is there now. That's when
Yeah.
chaos comes up.
Oh, it's so true. I mean, that's a really good point. For example, last night I was out to dinner with my children and they wanted ice cream. You know, we went to this ice cream parlor they love afterwards. And I knew I was physically full. Like I checked in, my stomach was full. I thought I cannot fit it in. So, you know, I had a bite of theirs. And I went in there recognizing that I would have had my own and I would have brought one had I been hungry. But I was full. And I knew at that point if I ate it, I wasn't going to feel good afterwards. I'd be overfull, you know, I'd just be a bit yuck. And I went in there knowing, as you just pointed out rightly, I can have an ice cream when I'm hungry another day, and I will one day and enjoy it. So it's not completely forbidden. It's something, yeah, I won't have every day because my body just doesn't need that kind of sugar every day, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's, yeah, forbidding it. It just, I've done that in the past, you know.
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't let myself have these things ever, thinking that, you know, way back when I was in the early days of losing the weight, there was a lot of fear, food fear. And I think people have a lot of fear around food. But we need a certain amount of energy every day to live,
Yeah.
you know, so we have to remember our body needs, we need energy, we need fuel. And I just try and put, you know, premium, really good fuel into my body because I feel better for it.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, coming into an interesting topic, how
Hmm.
did people react? And this is for people who haven't read the book. How did people react when you were actually losing all the parts of your body that you didn't feel were necessary? So,
Yeah.
the weight, the excess aspects that you wanted to lose.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. It's really interesting because everyone had a different reaction. And there were some people that were not comfortable with my changes because I think in their life I played a certain role. You know, I was the happy fat friend. You know, and not everybody liked seeing those changes. It was because suddenly I think often what happens is when we make changes in our own lives, if other people are maybe struggling with their own issues or emotional eating, then sometimes they feel compelled, they look in the mirror and it forces them to address their own issues and what's going on in their lives. So yeah, not everybody's happy with it. I would find some people would try and encourage me to eat more, or you know, they'd be pushing me to have a few drinks when I didn't feel like it. And not, you know, I liken it to, I'd say to them, you don't take an alcoholic to a bar. Like,
Yeah.
why are you trying to push desserts on me now when I'm saying I'm full? So yeah, it brought up some interesting responses. So not everybody was fully supportive, but then I had to recognize that's about them. And the other thing I noticed, and this was another reason I wrote the book that is very important, and I speak to this later in the book, in some of the later chapters, you know, there is so much weight bias and discrimination, and I have this thin privilege now because when you go from a size, I don't know what it was, 16 or 18 to a size 6, you know, suddenly you realize that slim privilege exists in society, and that was really sad. It's heartbreaking actually because my life is so easy now and everyone treats me well because I lost the weight so long ago. a lot of people here in Canada didn't even know I used to be in a much larger body.
Hmm.
So, I would hear people, and I would hear people everywhere. People still make rude comments about others in larger bodies. Discrimination is just rampant. And God, it was so sad. It was so sad to realize, wow, I'm treated well now. And this is so wrong. Like, why is my life easier now? Why am I treated better often in stores by, service workers everywhere because I'm in a slim body. And I was the same human. I with the same soul, the same kindness when I was in a larger body, but I was often treated sometimes really, really rudely, actually. And so I thought, I have to speak out. And that was another reason I thought, I have to tell this story because I've
Right.
lived at both extremes, in two different, very different bodies. And a lot of people don't know it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to speak out and say to everyone, like, let's just be kind. People aren't going to, if they're trying to make changes, it's not going to be helped. They're not going to be helped by cruel comments. If someone's in lycra and then they're being judged because, somebody takes exception to that because they think they're in too large a body and shouldn't wear it. Well, it's none of your business. Like, how dare someone make that comment? So hurtful. So
Yeah.
my core message later in the book is let's just all be kind to each other and compassionate. Someone else's body is no one's business.
Yeah.
And yeah, I find it really sad, and I find it, I'm very conflicted now. It's very
Yeah.
frustrating for me in society because I have this thin privilege now that's so real because I remember those same people didn't hold doors open for me now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, really not.
Um, I had a guest before on my podcast. Her name was, or her name is Courtney McCarthy. Amazing. She is not going to fit the profile of what people think everyone's body should be like. And this is no part, this is
Yeah,
not me
yeah,
making any judgment of any sort.
yeah,
The most, like, when I spoke to her, the kind of joy that she brought about, I mean, it's so infectious. And she will remain someone I always remembered speaking to
oh,
because she was truly happy in her body. And she spoke about body confidence, and there is, like, she owned herself, and it was so
yeah.
beautiful. I feel like you guys would have such a great conversation if you ever got a chance to connect with each other.
She sounds awesome.
Incredible. Yeah. So it just propped up in my mind, and I thought, I should bring up her name. But it's also like when I read your book, some of the things people said are, it's ridiculous. I mean, honestly, everything people can say can be ridiculous,
Yeah,
but the
yeah,
extremes they can go to without even thinking about what they're saying was,
yeah.
I mean, what are people thinking?
Exactly.
And
No,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think the reason your book is required again for people to really understand how your statements can make a dent for someone else. You don't know the
yeah,
journey someone else is going through. To you, it may seem like, oh, this person's not putting effort. Oh, this person's not taking care of their body. Oh, this person has so and so problems. But what
yeah,
is actually happening in their life, you have no window to. You have no idea the kind of pains and troubles they are going through. In fact, you wrote about the anxiety
yeah,
attacks you used to have, the kind
yeah,
of vomiting and
yeah,
challenges you used to have. And it's inhumane when you cannot pause to think. If it accidentally happens, we can give people grace. Sometimes they're not in their best places. But if you cannot think about what you're saying to someone else, and you keep hurting, you don't think about what kind of stuff you're saying.
yeah.
It's just wrong. It's not right.
Absolutely.
And uh, that's why I feel like your book is needed, because people need to understand what's happening. People need to
Yeah.
understand what's behind those doors. I
Yeah. No, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that because you're right. We have never walked a mile in someone else's shoes,
Yeah,
and
exactly, exactly.
we're so quick to judge. We're so quick to judge, and words have power.
Yeah,
It started with my grandmother when I think back. The judgment. Oh, you've gained weight. Oh, good for you. You've lost a couple of kilos. And the just oh my goodness, the constant judgment, comments and criticisms.
Yeah.
And yeah, we live in this world that just idolizes the slim, and it's this insane obsession, and I think it's incredibly dangerous now, everything that's happening with, and I don't make judgments if people choose Ozempic or a different path, but I think that
Yeah.
ultra skinny look that's back in now, the celebrities we're seeing, it's terrifying, and it's terrifying for our children and their children that they're getting this message that, to be loved, to be worthy, yeah, you need to starve yourself, you need to look a certain way, because
Right.
we're not all built for that naturally, and none of us are meant to starve. I make the
Yeah.
jokes with
Yeah.
Aryans claim they live on energy and don't drink or eat, and which is just insanely ridiculous. And
Yeah.
eventually you will die if you stop eating and drinking water.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
going to
Exactly.
happen at some point, and that's
Yeah.
terrifying. These kids are seeing that on social media, yeah, and it's yeah. I mean, I think the body neutrality movement is fabulous. Like, why are we all
Yeah.
so obsessed with our bodies? But I think for me, anyway, that middle ground. I know myself. I love exercise. I love to ski and mountain bike, and you know, I can't do those things comfortably. If I was carrying all of that extra weight, I
Yeah.
wouldn't keep up with my kids. It would hurt my knees. I mean, my body would just wouldn't. I wouldn't be able to do the things I enjoy that bring me. They're frankly just fun. So that's
Yeah.
that's something that one of the reasons I've made a commitment to myself to maintain my health for life, because I wake up with energy now. I feel better. I just physically, I'm just so much happier in this body. But I do
Yeah.
respect and other people are very, very comfortable and happy. And I fully respect that some people are are comfortable in a larger body.
Yeah.
If I couldn't, I mean, if you've ever mountain biked and you ride up a hill, like, trust me, if I gain even 20 pounds, if I try and ride up that hill, it's going to really hurt. And it hurts
Yeah.
now. So,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't be able to do the things I love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch the show Friends?
Yeah.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
wife was telling me about this. There were so in the show there's Monica, Rachel, and Phoebe.
Yeah.
Monica and Rachel was so skinny at one point, you won't believe it. Phoebe, or the actress Lisa Kudrow, was speaking about that she felt overweight compared to these people,
Wow.
and to me that was unfathomable. The
Yeah.
judgment that was going on, and that's the toxic nature of this culture. That's the toxic nature of what goes wrong. You,
Oh, exactly. No, you're right. I remember actually reading an article where Brooke Shields said I believe it was her, she was guest starring and she was there on an episode, and she said she felt like a giant compared to them. The
yeah,
stunningly beautiful woman, and in a figure that most people would admire and
right,
aspire. And for her to feel that way, it's terrifying.
yeah, yeah. Um, Shifting gears a bit now. So when I was reading your book, you mentioned that you went through a phase in your relationship where things kind of just gradually, there was a distance that built
Mm.
between you and Brian, if I'm getting the
Yeah,
name right.
yeah, yeah.
What was, in hindsight, what do you think was causing it?
I think, I mean, yeah, there's a lot there to unpack, and I definitely want to respect my ex-husband's
Of
privacy, but
course.
I absolutely do want to share too, and which is why, of course, I changed his name in the book. So I think it's really important to share. It was a big part of the journey. I mean, we were so young. I mean, we met at uni. He was my college boyfriend. We got engaged young and married and had the kids. And I know for myself, like, I was still growing up. I think we are in our 20s, in our 30s. And, this psychology will tell us, I mean, every 10 years, who I am now is not who I was 10 years ago. And it's
Right.
not who I will be in 10 years. And so some people grow together and some grow apart. And I think maybe our differences became more apparent as we got older. And, when the kids were young, we were just so busy with the day to day of, he was at work, I was at home, raising the kids. And we were so busy as a family. It was only when the children got older, suddenly you can sometimes look at your wife or husband and, you realize, wow, we've really grown apart. Like we haven't focused on the relationship because we've been so busy raising the kids. Like, who is this person I'm raising
Yeah.
children with? Because I grew and changed and he grew and changed. And, we don't always grow together.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky to have a friendship with him, and we have a very amicable co-parenting relationship. I mean, the children my youngest is 17 now, so they're pretty much grown. But yeah, it was an incredibly sad period and difficult period when I realised that I was really still a child when I married him. I wasn't ready to make that decision. I don't regret it, of course, because we had some good years and I have these 3 amazing children. So there's no regrets, but I certainly wouldn't encourage my children to marry young. I think it's prudent to wait, to experience life, to travel, to go and have adventures, and to also grow, because you don't know who you're growing into. I feel like, it takes us at least until our mid-30s to really figure out who are we and who are we becoming. I had to ask
Right.
myself, when my children went to school, all of them for the first time, I looked in the mirror and thought, who am I? I was someone's wife and mother and sister and daughter, but I didn't really have an identity of my own. I'd been busy playing these other roles, and I
Right.
had to find out in my mid and late 30s, like, who I was, who's Jane McGuinness as a woman, as not wearing all of these other hats. And then, yeah, it was very sad when I realized I had grown like quite a way apart from my husband, and that our journey was, yeah, we'd come as far as we could on our journey together, and that it was, we were at the point where we were happier apart, respectfully co-parenting in 2 homes, and it's of course it's horrific for the children. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. Like, leaving it was horrendous. It was just horrific.
Was there a moment where it just hit you that things have come to a point where we need to go separate directions?
Yeah, there was, and it was, of course, it was horrific for my ex-husband, for the children. I mean, it was, anybody who's gone through that knows that it's just, even the most amicable breakdown of a marriage is still, it's still
It's
devastation.
painful. It's
Yeah,
painful.
it's devastation, and I certainly didn't make the decision lightly. It was, yeah, and there was a lot of sort of deeply personal things, some that I couldn't share in the book, simply because I needed to protect my children and respect my ex-husband, who's a good guy and a friend. And, I've always just wanted him to find happiness again. But it's, yeah, it's, no one ever goes into a marriage, you never go into it thinking it's going to end. I think we all have those rose-colored glasses on, but, I was so young. I think we were engaged when I was 23. I didn't know who I was. I was still growing up, and,
Yeah.
of course I didn't know that then. I had to learn these lessons, which is why I think, yeah, I do. I mean, I certainly don't advocate young. I mean, some people make it work. They marry young and they're happy forever, and I think that's a really beautiful thing. It just wasn't my experience. Yeah.
When when you said that, you wouldn't recommend your kids to marry early, what do you feel age gives? Or when you grow a bit older, you've gotten closer to your 30s, what do you think that gives that can help make better decisions of who you want to be with?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I was struggling, of course, with an anxiety disorder too, which didn't help matters. And I think we need to become, fully formed people before we merge our lives with somebody else. And quite often, if someone has, an avoidant attachment style or anxious attachment, or, that disorganized anxious avoidant attachment, and they bring that into a relationship, I mean, there's a recipe for disaster. And, so ideally, if we're at a point in our lives where we're securely attached and confident within ourselves, then we're ready, far more ready, and I believe far more likely to succeed when we decide to merge with another and build a life with someone, which is still a beautiful thing. And I think it's wonderful. And it's, when you see that, yeah, couples that have done that and achieved that, and, they've navigated the challenges. But absolutely, I think, and I guess I can only speak for myself, but I don't know how anybody really in their early 20s, they don't know who they
Yeah.
are yet. still figuring it out how they can be truly ready to say, yes, I'm going to build a life with you, and maybe, and we'll spend the next 70 years together. And sometimes, like I said, sometimes it works, and that's a beautiful thing. But I think more often than not, two people haven't fully figured out who they are in the world, what they really,
Right.
before they decide, okay, well, let's do this together. It's a roll of the dice, isn't it? And when you're that young, and of course we think we know everything at 21 or
Yeah,
22.
yeah,
Problem.
yeah. That's another problem.
Yeah.
When I was reading your book, this is one of the parts that stunned me. Okay, this was something I would never have predicted can even happen in the
Yeah.
world. Uh, you had just moved to Vancouver with your husband. You're standing at the
Yes.
bank, and I'm flabbergasted. One is having this internal bias, but even vocally speaking this in front of you.
Yeah.
And just for people who haven't read the book, the bank teller, or it was the bank manager, I don't remember, he
Yeah.
turns to your husband and he asks, do you want her to have the same credit limit as you?
Yes.
And that question to me, it how can someone ask that? Like it comes in
Yeah.
with the bias of, oh, your wife should have less than you. And in fact, when your husband said that, no, I have no problem, she should have the
Yeah.
same credit limit, he questions it again, saying, are you sure? And to the point where he was actually pushing his bias onto Brian, which
Yeah.
shocked me. Which shocked me.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, looking back when I wrote that, I I realized, oh my goodness, like this happened in 2012. Like this, like I said,
Right.
oh, this wasn't 1812, and that was when, for the first time, I think it occurred to me just how patriarchal this world is that we live in. And I was the classic stay-at-home mother. I'd put aside my career. I mean, I'd been to university, but at that point, I didn't have a car in my name. There was no insurance in my name. The credit cards, like everything was, there was no. I didn't. Nothing was in my name, and I really had given up my identity. And when this the worker at the bank that we met with said that in front of me, and I sat there. I was actually just in shock. I think I was in absolute shock. And Brian at the time, I don't think he knew what to say either, because it was just so outrageous that he would be asked, like, yeah, would you like your wife to have a lower credit limit? And
Right.
yeah, it was horrifying. And that's when I really maybe started to, think about, these broader issues of patriarchy that I'd never really questioned, because I was, some people would say, well, you're a kept woman, you're at home, you're not working. Even though, of course, I worked all day, I worked 24 hours a day, believe me.
Yeah, yeah.
Was I was on the spectrum, and so there was a meltdown that happened, pretty, you could set your watch by it, and the other two, they all had needs. Like, I did not stop working, but,
Right.
the outside world, they thought I didn't work. And that's sometimes a really unfair assumption people make. And then the questions of financial autonomy, because of course
Right.
there
And
was, I learned
the
quickly
we-
when, yeah,
the weird part is, I feel like some people, of course, this is not all, there's a bunch of people who do respect what women do, whether they're at home or at work. But
yeah,
some people think doing work at home is not work. When in
mm,
fact, I think when you do work at home, it's way more taxing than if you go outside and work or you have a
yeah,
daytime job,
yeah,
because your work at home doesn't end. It's there is no time off. That's what
exactly, yeah.
my wife is amazing. She brought some amazing perspectives into our relationship.
Oh,
And
that's so awesome.
that's something I learned from her about the kind of effort some homemakers and people
Yeah,
who stay at home moms who do. It's non-stop. It's
exactly.
non-stop.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
Uh,
Yeah, people. I was just going to say, I think you're absolutely right. And I think unless somebody's done it, even for a day, and
Yeah,
realized, when that alarm goes at 5:30 and you're up, and okay, it's time to put, the next load of laundry in. It's time to, I've got to start getting the school lunches made. There's just forms to fill out, and it's just, it It is absolutely a 24/7 job. And no, unless people have done it, they don't appreciate that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And with that comes a lack of respect, which I think it's still, yeah, it absolutely still exists to some degree. Yeah.
How do you respond to those situations today?
Oh, you mean with regard to someone asking me about the past or where I'm at right now in my...
Yeah, so if someone with a patriarchal mindset did the same thing today, how would you respond?
Yeah, that's a really good question because, in the past I didn't speak up and now I do. And I will speak up politely, but I will share my views. Because
Right.
when I grew up, I was told, you respect your elders and you don't talk back. And
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and I did respect my elders, but sometimes I wouldn't speak up and that was due to a lack of confidence. And that was another reason I had to write the book. I thought, it's time to speak up. Like I was angry. I thought there is a lot that's wrong here. And I need to speak up and I needed to share this story because I knew like so much is just, yeah, there's a lot that's just really in existence, these societal norms, that we don't stop and question it. I didn't for years. Maybe it was the first time was that time that I wrote about at the bank where I started to question my role as a woman in the world and my worth. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, no, I speak up now and I will do it with kindness and love and compassion. And then someone's views differ from mine. Like I will radically accept that that's them. They can take that view over there. But yeah, I won't be quiet anymore. And for a long time I was. And I thought, no, I'm done.
yeah. Would you just be direct and say this is the reason I asked this question is not to intrude, but to show what people can do today. Because there are some people who don't even have clarity on how they can face this situation. So that's why I'm just trying to dial in a bit deeper. What would you say specifically to that person, to the bank person who was being disrespectful?
Yeah, exactly. What would I say? I think I would begin by asking him how on earth he feels that question is appropriate or any of his business.
I love
Yeah,
that. I love that.
yeah.
I love that because I
Why
know,
appropriate?
yeah, because I know some people would go just to the extreme and say fuck you, and
Yeah,
then there would be some people who would not say anything. But this is I love this approach because it goes with a question where it forces them to really consider what they're doing. So I love that.
yeah. Thanks. Yeah, yes. A lot of people are really. It is a lack of awareness
Yeah.
and their own bias and their own. In his case, it's patriarchal view that he brought into the situation. But is unbelievably inappropriate. And I always maintain there are two people in a marriage, like no more, typically, and there was only
Yes,
two
we
people in
don't
our
want. Yeah.
yeah. And wow, like unbelievable. Like there's some people feel they have a right to an opinion and, they can weigh in on a marriage and no one knows what goes on behind closed doors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I think this is a perfect segue to have a really fun game with you. And this game is called The
Oh,
Last Time You. The Last Time You. So I'm gonna give a sentence saying, for example, the last time you binge ate, something like that.
yeah.
And we try to dial into, okay, when did it happen last and what was the context around it, just to have some fun
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the first one. The last time you visited Broken Hill.
Oh my goodness. I was driving through there. I had a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old and
Oh, wow.
yeah, I was taking it was a 10-hour drive. My husband was working at the time and I was heading to see my best friend and stay with her and that was it was about 1,000 Ks and that was too far to go in a day, but I was stopped at Broken Hill was the halfway point at that time.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I remember that day.
Do you miss Broken Hill?
No.
No.
Mind you, some old school friends, it was very lovely. They heard about the book, of course, and downloaded it and they've listened or read it. And yeah, I've had some lovely messages of love and support. So that's been really, really heartwarming.
Awesome.
some apologies from, the mean girls at school who apologized. And yeah, so maybe there was some self-reflection there on their part. So I was actually really touched by that.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
The second one is the last time you felt like you needed a man.
Oh, last night. This morning. Yeah, no, I don't plan on growing old with 10 cats. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
And there's, no question. There might be someone special in my heart, but as is always the case, it's always complicated. So right now my focus is the book and the children, but yeah, I do welcome someone in the future, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think we're meant to be alone. I don't think it's healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last time you had an anxiety attack.
Oh gosh. No, that would be going back years. Um,
Which is awesome.
yeah, I'm trying to think actually. Maybe 2018. I can't remember exactly, but yeah. So I've had a handle on that for a long time now, and I have to credit a lot of self-help books and the studies in psychology. I mean, a lot of personal growth, and I still continue to read voraciously, and learn because it's a lifelong journey. But yeah, it's been a long time now.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
The last time you spoke to your closest friend.
Oh, yeah, I've got a few best friends. Kelly, my oldest school friend.
Yeah, you speak about her in the book.
Yeah, Kelly and I had a FaceTime a couple of days ago, and
Okay.
she's got 3 kids, but yeah, it's such a precious friendship. So we really both we text daily. Like we make each other laugh daily because you can't get through life without laughter. She's the funniest person. Honestly, she needs to write
You
a book.
need such people in your life. You need such people in your life.
I do. It's so true. Yeah.
Yeah. The last time you felt like there are no good men out there.
Oh. Yeah, there's certainly those moments, and I have to say, I recognize that there are, yeah, good men exist. I mean, I've got a son, and he's a wonderful young man. There are good men out there. I mean, my joke is that most of them are married, and I think women are usually smart enough to know if they've found a keeper, they're going to keep him, Yeah, because I did have some horrific dating experiences. It
Yeah,
wasn't,
yeah, you speak about that.
and it was really sad actually looking back on it. And yeah, which is yeah, so I wouldn't say I ever think there's no good man. I mean, even though I joke about it, it's just that, yeah, quite frankly, at my age, it's rare to find someone emotionally available, securely attached, who's also, compatible and has the same life goals and wants to travel with me and has the ability to travel and so there's so much, it's complicated, I think, when we get to this point and, there's children involved and
Yeah,
there's so much that
yeah.
goes into it. So
There's
I'm just
so much in it. Yeah.
yeah, but I am an optimist, that's for sure. And I do yeah, it's always fun to have time with someone, whether it's traveling and yeah, enjoying time with someone you care for. I do yeah, I know there's yeah, I know a few good men, and then some of them have a lot of baggage and they're broken, but we're all broken, aren't we?
Yeah.
Some of us are maybe still, still doing the repair work, and I respect that. Yeah.
The
And still
last time someone did something that made you feel like there are good men out there. And I picked this off of an example that you spoke about in your book, where I don't remember the name of the friend, but he
oh
came and he helped with the bathroom
oh
situation.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
It's so true. Oh, um, I thought about just the other day. I realized because my next door neighbor's this wonderful man in his 90s, and we've become are becoming friends, and he was sharing about his late wife, and there was he was some stories, and that's when I realized, wow, there's a really really good, solid, kind man, and she was, I suspect, a very, very lucky, happy woman. It sounded like they had a beautiful marriage, and yeah, it does fill me with hope. I'm definitely not a pessimist. Yeah.
Did anyone do something like that recently? Like your friend who helped with the bathroom situation?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Actually, one of my best friends, who's in the book too, Brad from the book. We'll call him Brad. I mean, yeah, I know he's got my back and genuinely just really, he'd be the first one to be worried about me if something, bad happened here or seriously went wrong. Yeah. And it's, when I have that love in my life from male friends as well as female, I realize, there are really good guys out there. Yeah.
The last time you were judged for your divorce.
Oh,
The reason I ask this is
yeah.
you mentioned this in the book where women where the husband left them get sympathy. But the women who initiated the divorce often get a lot of judgment.
Yeah, no, it's true. I did actually. And sadly, often from other women. There was
Yeah.
definitely I lost a couple of friends, and that was sad. They were friendships that I treasured, and I didn't realize that my decision, which really had nothing to do with them, it wasn't their marriage,
Yeah.
maybe it caused them to look in the mirror and they were thinking about their own relationships. I haven't felt that judgment in, gosh, no, I guess it's a few years now, but certainly in the
Okay.
early days from some family members who felt very strongly that marriage is for life and you work through your problems. Like that was their own view that they imposed. Yeah, I was really hurt. Sometimes people would say things that I felt were unkind. And, I mean, Kelly always says everyone has an opinion, it's, it doesn't mean I want to see it or hear it. And there's something else that's a little too profane that I won't share. but, you know, but yeah, that was sad because if I've learnt anything other than just to love and be kind to everyone, it's that none of us have the right to judge another. You don't know what goes
Yeah.
on behind doors or what's in someone's heart. And yeah, my decision was not made lightly. So that was, yeah, and I had to really toughen up because in those days, way back when, it hurt. It
Yeah.
did. Some of the judgment really hurt. Yeah.
So that's the end of the game. Thank you for sharing your experiences.
Pleasure. That was fun.
So, in the book, you speak about some of the experiences you had with dating. If people haven't read the book, there are some situations where someone stole something and ran away from home. There were people who just drank all your wine. There
Oh,
were all sorts of crazy people you bumped into. And as
yeah.
you rightfully say, there seem to be more boys than men.
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone who's come out of a divorce with regards to looking for their next relationship?
My advice would be absolutely remember your self-worth and don't compromise. I see people settle because they want a relationship. And for some
Right.
people, a bad relationship is still a relationship. So I see people jump into things or stay in things simply because they want that person. They want somebody there, even though they know this person isn't right for them. There are huge red flags, and often I see sometimes even friends, I see them ignore those red flags because they want a relationship. And we're only fooling ourselves. I think with online dating, I do believe that there are honest, genuine people out there online. I just believe it's like the 1 or 2%. I think there's a lot of time wasting that happens, and it was a really, really, honestly horrific experience. I mean, my
Yeah.
child's credit card was stolen while I slept, and this person was obviously a functional alcoholic. It was a really horrific situation, actually. But I think for
Yeah.
people out there, yeah, I do believe, and some people do meet the love of their lives and they repartner or remarry and they meet online. And I think that's a wonderful thing and it's a beautiful thing. And I think it takes time though. I mean, if you really, you do need to persist if you're looking for a partner because the chances of finding someone you're truly compatible with and, those sparks, that connection, it's a needle in a haystack. So, yeah, it certainly takes a lot of persistence and, yeah, and you've also got to have the mental energy to sort of deal with all of there's a lot of crazy out there and a lot of, lack of kindness and respect I found. A lot of inhumanity, and that was really sad. So yeah, no, I will definitely get another 9 cats. I've only got one now, but I'll get another 9 before I download a dating app ever again. Cats would be way less work.
Oh my God, this the stuff you wrote about that happens on
Yeah.
these apps are ridiculous. Like they almost don't put the right profile picture. They misguide you. It's
Yeah,
a haunting
it was
experience.
awful. And I mean, they were only some of the stories that made the book, honestly. I mean,
Right.
I have enough I think I'll have to throw another chapter in the next book, like Tinder 2.0, because honestly, there are so many extra stories, and I realized that didn't make the first book. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
um, slide that in.
Okay. Okay. So this is something I really wanted to pick your mind on, which
Mm-hmm.
is that you got to know that Cerulean was autistic
Yeah,
at when he was 17, correct? 17
yeah,
years.
them they pronouns, but yeah, when they were 17, they were diagnosed, so very late. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. My apologies.
Oh no, 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 it's
So,
all good.
um, if you could speak to your younger self on the hardships of having of the challenges,
Mm.
what would you say after having gone through all these experiences?
Mm. Well, I wish we had known sooner, and I realize medical professionals missed it, for several reasons. I mean, criteria change, so sometimes, some kids do, they, they miss the diagnosis that would have been, yeah, incredibly helpful. Gosh, I think, I wish, particularly because now my eldest is non-binary. Had I had I been parenting this child now at my age with what I know, I would have honored and respected their wishes more. And I wish I had, because there were times when, we'd be going out for a family event and I would insist that they wear a certain thing or have their hair done a certain way, and I wasn't truly hearing them. I mean, I was a mum, young, and this is in my late 20s. So I wasn't and I think kids desperately need to be heard, really listened to
Yeah,
by their parents, and I regret not. When my child was saying, I want my hair done that way, or I want to wear this, and I was saying, well, we're wearing this because we're going to this restaurant or whatever it was, I regret not truly honoring their wishes, because looking back, it didn't matter. What they needed was to be heard. They needed me to honor how they were feeling. And, of course, they knew well before I did. I was so clear at the age of 3 and 4. They were saying things or wanting certain things that I wasn't hearing. And I regret that. I'd go back and tell myself that, it doesn't matter what the rest of the world thinks. If my child's more comfortable wearing this, I wish I'd let them. I wish I'd let them, cut their hair or do whatever it was they wanted way back when. So, yeah, and then I try and just realize, like, I did the best I could. I was, no child, as I say in the book, these kids don't come with owner's manuals. It was my
yeah,
first child. No one tells you. And of course, the world is a different place now, and there's far more knowledge, and I'm still learning. And yeah, so I regret certain things, but I did the best I could at the time. And I mean, the next generation's phenomenally accepting and wonderful. I see my kids' friends, all of them, and they're just amazing. And I have so much hope for the future because, yeah, this next generation, I think they're awesome and just loving and accepting. And, I just love that my kids can now, especially here in Vancouver, they can go out, they can wear what they want. Tell them, as long as you're respectful and kind to people, please don't break the law,
yeah.
wear what you like. I think
Oh my
that's,
God. I mean, I don't know if you've heard of this guy, Matthew Dix, and
no.
he's known for storytelling. If you look at his life, he has gone through so many different experiences,
Yeah.
and he has so many stories to tell.
Hmm.
And when I see you, I feel the same way, that you've gone through such a wide variety of experiences that
Yeah.
you have so much to talk about, so much to speak about. And what was your experience when your kid came and told you that they're non-binary,
Yeah.
and how would you recommend someone works with that situation?
Yeah. Well, I absolutely encourage parents because I know for some parents it's a very, very difficult thing to hear. I mean,
Right.
what I needed to do was immediately go and learn more about it. And what I did was start asking questions and asking
Mm-hmm.
them to help me to understand their lived experience. And yeah, luckily I came to it from that place of love and acceptance. And I know that that's not always the case. You know, for some children that come out and they aren't met with acceptance and
Right.
understanding. So I would encourage parents just to be as open minded as they can and recognize that this is not their journey. You know, we don't get to live vicariously through our children. Like my child, you know, they're all autonomous individuals. I think we forget that. You know, they're not a mini
Yeah.
me. This is their
Yeah.
journey. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely was initially, I was surprised, but I wasn't shocked. I certainly wasn't shocked because then, of course, I immediately started to think back to my child at 3 and 4 and 5 and some of the things they expressed and wished, and I realized, of course, you know,
Yeah.
so it wasn't a surprise. I just needed to learn more because I didn't really understand how they felt in their body, and so we had a lot of conversations. And you know, of course, it wasn't always easy, you know, and
Yeah.
especially you know for my mother who's really you know trying really hard, but from a different generation, and just says, you know, I mean, she admits she finds it hard to understand, and I have to respect that too. And so, but of course, she completely loves and accepts my child, my eldest child. But yeah, I would just encourage everybody just to remember that all that really matters at the end of the day is what matters is love and kindness and with that acceptance, you know. This is their lived experience, and I think being curious
Yeah.
and respectful and asking questions. And I always ask my eldest to help me and let me know if I've said something that is, you know, I make a heteronormative comment or I make a hurtful comment without realizing it, or say something that's not appropriate. I ask them to teach me and help me, and then I continue to read and learn and just try my best to understand their their lived experience because it is so different to mine, what they're navigating right now. And so, and you know, getting my head around the them, they pronouns. Sometimes my other two, I've got a son and a daughter, and sometimes I accidentally misgender them because I say them to all of them because I'm so used to saying them, they. And then my daughter says, Mummy, I'm not them, I'm she. So there's a whole lot of like linguistic, like, okay,
Yeah. Yeah. When
thanks.
I asked you this question, I didn't remember it was your eldest one who pronounced
Yeah,
that.
who's them,
Uh,
them, yeah, non
yeah.
binary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my apologies on that.
Oh no, no,
Uh,
it's good. It's yeah, it's a journey we're all on. I think as long as we always as parents come to that with just remember our kids just need love. They really do just need love and
yeah.
unconditional love. And I just do my best every day. I mean, I'm not perfect. I mean, my eldest and I, you know, we can still have challenging moments. I mean, they're neurodivergent, and you know, ADHD, and you know, there's some other challenges they face, and I would be exhausting to be in their head. I can't even imagine what that would be like. I think it'd be really tough for them. So I do just try my best to just give them love and compassion and let them know that, yeah, I'm on their side, you know,
Yeah.
and yeah, yeah, that's what our kids need to hear.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we are kind of approaching towards the end of the podcast.
Hmm.
So if you had to leave one message for people to really absorb, what would it be?
Sure. Yeah, you know, that's an easy one actually. I would have to say be kind when you see someone, you know, in a larger body, a smaller body. Don't judge. You haven't walked in their shoes. Just remember, like someone else's body, you know, it's none of your business. And I think we just all forget to see the soul. You know, we see the external form, we see the shape. You know, let's just remember, you know, that we're all equal and we all deserve and we all need love and kindness and compassion. So I would just say, just try and reserve judgment. We often judge people in larger bodies, you know, really, really unkindly, and it's not okay. And I really believe I feel very, very strongly like this needs to change in society. Like we need to dismantle this, the weight bias, and it's just not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for your time. And thank you for having written the memoir. I'm sure everyone who reads it will love it.
Oh, thanks so much, Jane. Thank you for having me on. It's been an absolute pleasure, and yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about this. It's quite dear to my heart, these issues.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time
Thank you.
and all the wisdom.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm learning, just trying, to share what I know, and humbly, I've got a lot more to learn. I think, I don't ever want to stop learning. I think that's key. It's a journey.
Awesome.